Husband spent our money on fast food and games, cheated, neglected our daughter, got kicked out, and now says I'm the bad guy. I, 23F, have been with my husband, 27M, for almost 3 years. We eloped and almost immediately were expecting. We were both very excited and everything was perfect until the baby came. Our daughter is 1 now. For the entire first year of her life, he came home from work, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., every day and immediately took a nap that ranged from 2 to 4 hours long. On his days off, he insisted that I get up with her while he slept in, and when he did finally get up, he gamed until he was ready for his daily nap. The household chores started piling up because I was caring for our daughter full-time and working from home nearly 60 hours a week. I expressed feeling like I was doing everything on my own and I needed help with the household chores or for him to watch her so I could take care of the house. He was dismissive and said he actually goes to work and wants to be able to relax when he comes home. An argument breaks out, I cry, he takes her for an hour, I do what I can in that time. The cycle continues. This argument happened at least 7 times before she was 8 months old. Right after she reached 7 months, we got a vacate or pay notice. I had given him control of the finances because it was too much for me to balance a baby, maintaining the house, and working. I asked him about it and he said it was fine, he just had to wait for his paycheck. Ultimately, I found out that he was buying fast food for lunch every day at work and sometimes on the way home and eating it in the car so I wouldn't know. McDonald's was single-handedly draining our bank accounts. Our bank accounts, not just his. I didn't leave the house very often unless it was for grocery shopping so I didn't notice that he had my debit card as well. We ended up not being able to pay rent. We moved into the family room in my mom's basement. Several key events then happened that you need for context. I sold my car so we would have some money, but so stupidly put the money into my bank account instead of holding onto it. We now had only 1 car. He lost his job due to attendance issues, consistently calling out and being late, and got a new job with less hours and less pay. I got laid off because the contract I was working under in my company expired and their partners didn't want to renew it. We decided it would be easier for me to just stay home with the baby instead of finding a job outside the home. Really it would just require us to put my daughter in daycare so I could go work, but we didn't have the money and he was still spending money recklessly, so we weren't able to save up any money for it. My mom removed me as a second beneficiary on her will because she didn't trust that my husband would allow me have control of the money I would get to take care of my 2 minor siblings. That turned into a huge argument between him and I because I see why my mom chose to do that. I told him he needs to start acting like a responsible adult who has a child to provide for because I would leave him if his behavior came between me and my ability to take care of my family. He reluctantly gave me all the debit cards and said something along the lines of it's great to know your whole family thinks I'm so terrible. We got our tax return and the money got spent on a PS5, a year-long PS Plus membership, game for the PS5, and fast food. More context events, he started being protective of his phone. Won't let me use it for a quick search, to call my phone when I can't find it, or even just for the flashlight. He started drinking frequently and wanting to go to a nearby dive bar by himself. Claiming he wanted to be alone and insisting that he doesn't want me to go. He got a boot on the car while he was at said bar. He called me at 2 a.m. asking if I had $105 in my Venmo so he could pay to get the boot off. I did not. I got mad and told him to figure it out himself. He came home and I confronted him about our financial situation. I asked for the receipt or service ticket from the boot and he said he didn't get either of those from the security people. He says he'll turn over all financially control to me. Spoiler, he doesn't follow through. Flash forward to the Wednesday after her first birthday. I want to take a shower around 2 before I go to my sister's rugby game at 5. I ask him to watch our daughter so I can go shower. He makes a big deal of having to start prep for dinner and that he was about to eat lunch. I told him I can wait, I just need to be in the shower by 3:30 so I can have time to get myself and the baby ready to go by 4:30 when we need to leave. He says okay, I think I can do that. In the future it'd be easier if you shower at night when she's sleeping. I had a physical response to that comment. To this point of her entire life I had only been doing exactly that. And at this point her molars are coming in so she's not sleeping well. Just a couple days before this conversation, I had tried to shower after she went to sleep, but she didn't stay asleep. Instead of getting up and trying to soothe her, he called me and said, "Where are you?" "I'm in the shower." "Well, she's awake." "Okay. Help her, I have to work in the morning." "Okay. I'm in the shower." "Well, just get out and come take care of her." Back to the current conversation, we start arguing about him not being available to help me with her. I told him he always finds some excuse to avoid taking care of her and he says he doesn't know how to take care of a baby. In the end, he watches her while I shower, but while watching her, packs away his PS5 and makes a point of telling me that since he's so unavailable, he just won't do anything he wants to do. That Friday is my cousin's 18th birthday. We have a tradition of taking the new adult to the strip club and I was so excited to go. I asked my husband if he would watch her while I go. I explained that she would already be in bed and that I wouldn't need the car or money because I was getting a ride and someone was going to pay my cover fee. I wasn't interested in getting dances, just hanging out and making fun of my cousin as he awkwardly gets some tea shaken in his face. He, surprisingly, agrees with no resistance. I go and vent to my aunt and female cousin about the shower argument. We stop by the bar next door while my cousin gets a private dance and I have a couple drinks. By the time I got home I was hyped up on spiced rum and f/ck that I would have left already responses. I go through his phone while he's sleeping. I found messages and messages with other women on his phone, that include flirting, exchanging nudes, and him asking if they can host because he has roommates. Some of them are escorts that work the area around the dive bar that he's been going to lately. And I had a flashback to the boot situation. I screenshotted all the messages and sent them to myself. I look through his bank statements and Venmo transactions and see that he's been pulling all our money out in cash, so there's no way of knowing where it's going. I messaged him, yes, he was sleeping the bed next to me while I did all this, and just go off. I let out all my thoughts and feelings about our financial situation, him avoiding taking care of our daughter, the messages, and how I feel for having let him manipulate me for all this time. When he woke up to that, his first question to me was, why did you go through my phone? Needless to say, we separated. I didn't and haven't used the word divorce to him, but that may be the end result. He kept talking about how he has nowhere to go and I'm throwing him out on the street, then switching over to he loves me so much and he'll do anything to keep me in his life, and then spitefully saying he's gonna do better and succeed and you'll see. I stood my ground and made him leave. I laid out my expectations saying I won't even consider taking him back until he consistently goes to therapy, which I expect him to continue if I take him back. He shows me he can be financially responsible for even one person, himself, and he makes an effort to maintain a relationship with our daughter, not me. It's been 2 weeks and things have been awful. I've been literally taking notes on things that are happening because I know this traumatized brain of mine is not going to remember how I've been feeling throughout the process or how I felt the day I told him to leave. It's been 2 weeks and I already have 8 pages of notes about negative interactions I've had with him in contrast with the single paragraph of something positive that he did. Last night he told me he's scared he's going to do all this for nothing, that I won't take him back even if he tries his best. And that he just wants to come home. I want things to work out because we were happy once. Maybe I'm holding out for nothing. He has constantly made me feel like I'm the bad guy for not letting him stay with me while he makes the changes I expect of him. Now I have these thoughts in my head. Am I the bad guy? Should I have tried to let him make changes while staying in the home? I just need some outside perspective, whether it's reassuring or constructive. Update 1. Back in May I, F23, made a post about my now ex-husband's, M27, behavior that led to us separating. I mentioned feeling like I was holding out on divorce because we were happy once. But since then, things have changed. After making my post, I read every comment that came in, I consulted with my close family members and friends, and within a week I had told him I wanted to go through with divorce. He was mad, accused me of seeing someone else, incorrect, and then told all our mutual friends that I was out to get him, being a WH/re and trying to take our daughter away from him, and that was only divorcing him for looking at porn, i.e., the nudes from the escorts, see previous post. He threatened a couple times to flee to California, as he is on probation, and forget we exist. But nevertheless, I kept all the advice and support in mind, stood my ground, and started filling out the papers. My mom and I filled out the divorce papers together. She has been divorced twice and wrote her own papers both times because 1. She could not afford a lawyer and 2. She is so incredibly smart and resourceful and just figured it out on her own. In case you couldn't tell, I love and admire my mom so much. She is familiar with the process in the state we live in and knew every document that we needed and how to fill them out or write our own should we need to modify parts of it. I filed, handed the papers to him myself, and told him he has a week to fill out his voluntary affidavit of service and return the papers to the courthouse or I would have him served by a third party. He did not follow through and neither did I. I kept putting it off until one day he called me out of the blue to tell me he had filed it and got the final divorce decree for us to fill out and file. I was a little shocked that he wasn't going to fight anything I put in the papers, but went along with it before he changed his mind. Just for reference, I did in fact do everything in my power to make the divorce fair because despite the way I was treated, I was raised better than to be spiteful, especially when children are involved. We do not have any large price property to divide aside from his car which he had before we got married. And I gave myself majority custody because to my knowledge he was sleeping on his friend's couch while I have her crib, dresser, toys, etc. set up in my room at my mom's house. I also have a much larger support system in the area so even if I am struggling financially, I have people I can lean on in those times of need to provide food, diapers, clothes, etc. for her whereas he does not have that. And that's not a jab at him, just a plain fact. We met up the following day, went to the courthouse, filled and filed the final decree. I have already gotten the final decree signed by the judge via mail. It was weird seeing the sudden flip in behavior but I welcomed it. And then he told me he has a girlfriend and they're moving in together yada yada. And my immediate thought was this poor girl is going to get used for her stability. So they are moving in together. She is older than him, has 3 kids of her own, a stable career, and owns a house. I met her and she seems very nice and friendly. She also made some comments toward him that made me both laugh and feel like she will not tolerate his lack of effort when it comes to being a dad. Whether or not he is using her for her stability and a place to live, is not my business. My only concern is the safety and well-being of my child. I did dip my toe into the dating world, but if I'm being honest with myself and everyone else, I am definitely not ready for that right now, and I took my toe out and thoroughly dried it off. I have myself and my child to focus on right now. That is the update. Thank you to everyone who commented before and helped me to find some common sense, whether your words were gentle or not. It was much needed and appreciated. Now on to second story. Confided in my wife about being raped as a child, and now she denies my trauma, calling me a liar during arguments. I 27 male and my wife 26F have been married for 2 years and have been together for 6. As context, I was repeatedly raped by my brother's babysitter when I was around 9. She would grope me, force me to remove my pants, and then either stick my dick in her mouth or try and give me a handjob whenever my 4-year-old brother slept. Most of the time I was paralyzed and couldn't do anything to stop it. She would always buy me sweets or video games for my DS as a reward. So in a weird way I started growing attached to her and would try and seek the abuse if it meant jetting her rewards. I knew whatever she was doing was wrong, but she would always threaten to take my life if I ever told my parents, so I never did while the abuse was actively happening. Everything stopped as soon as she graduated college and moved states. I only realized how fucked up the things she did to me were when I was around 14-15 and understood the concept of consent. When I tried to open up to my parents, strict Catholics, it never ended well. First they blamed it on porn and claimed it corrupted my mind into imagining these things happening to me. If I claimed I was telling the truth, my dad would beat the shit out of me and my mom would ground me. I tried opening up to my friends, but their reactions weren't any better. My male friends just called me lucky and asked if the BJ was good. My female friends claimed I was just lying to get attention and laughed in my face. I learned to just try and forget the past and vowed to myself that I would never mention this to anyone again. Now on to last week. Me and my wife had heard some good things about this show called Baby Reindeer on Netflix from our friends. Going into it I knew it revolved around sexual abuse and stalking. In my mind I thought I was over the past and I could handle watching the show no problem. Big fucking mistake. At the end of episode 4 I was literally on the verge of tears and I felt all the supposedly forgotten memories come flooding back. At the end of the next episode I couldn't hold it in anymore. My wife paused the show and just stared at me. After a while I did finally manage to calm down a bit. She asked me why I was crying and I just let everything out. She said she was sorry, hugged me, and we went to bed soon after. I apologized to her the following morning for ruining our night. From the moment I let her know about the abuse I felt something change in our relationship. No more kisses when I came back from work and no more initiating anything intimate from her side. She was mean or anything, but I felt like something was bothering her. I tried to apologize for maybe making her uncomfortable, but she would just claim there was nothing bothering her and I was just being paranoid. Yesterday me and my wife got into a pretty heated argument about her lying about taking out the trash, but during the argument she said something that floored me beyond belief. She literally said, "At least I'm not lying about being raped, you fucking narcissist." I literally couldn't process whatever just came out of her mouth. She tried apologizing right after saying that, but I just packed a few clothes and left to stay at my friend's house. She tried calling me several times since, but I haven't bothered picking up and have blocked her for time being. I know I might have trauma dumped on her and I know women aren't into that, but I just want some sort of acknowledgement/support. I don't have anyone left to turn to with this, and that's why I'm posting here. I've had 2 therapists to date and both didn't seem to help much. Gut is telling me to divorce her, but she's genuinely the love of my life. Throwing away 6 years because of this one moment doesn't sit right with me, but I'd Wibta for divorcing her? Am I actually the asshole here? I would love to hear some of your guys' opinions on my situation, and if you've read this all the way through, thank you, Oop. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure this happens a lot to women as well. I went to a few anonymous meetings and heard a lot of the same from women who claim people just thought they were trying to get a settlement or something. Update 1. For the first time in my life I felt heard and didn't just feel like a burden to people. I don't know what I did to deserve any of this, but I just want to let you all know that I'm beyond grateful. Link to my original post. As for the update. Shortly after posting, I did decide to go back home. I had work the next day and didn't want to burden my friend with my marital issues any longer. Upon coming home I was met with her screaming at me for just leaving the apartment and ghosting her without having an adult conversation with her. I just let her know how hurt I was by the things she said to me and that I needed some time to myself to gather my thoughts. She tried arguing back with how there is nothing to think about and that I was being an immature crybaby. From that point onwards we have barely been on speaking terms. I know a lot of people are going to be mad hearing this, but the longer I thought about my marriage and my wife, the more I wanted to give her another chance. She wasn't perfect by any means, but neither was I. A lot of my past relationships ended as a result of my past catching up with me, but I really want to change it this time. She isn't the first partner/friend to have this type of reaction to what I went through. I know it's tough, but I feel like I just needed to bite the bullet if it meant keeping my sanity. I didn't want to start over again. After we somewhat started talking to each other again, I sat her down for a serious conversation and let her know again how hurt I was by everything she said. I let her know about all the ridicule I suffered as a result of me opening up and her having the same reaction, just reopened unhealed wounds. She just kept quiet until I mentioned couples therapy. She then started crying, but not for the reason I thought. I tried holding her but she just pushed me away and screamed that I seriously thought about ending our marriage over some silly argument we had and that I was just trying to make up some sob story after watching baby reindeer for attention and sympathy. According to her, all of this was just too convenient to be believable. If it was real, why didn't I mention any of this throughout the 6 years we have been together? At this point even I started tearing up. I apologized for keeping this from her for so long and then tried reassuring her that I in fact wasn't king this up, but she just slapped me and stormed off to bed. That was a week ago and I have been sleeping on the couch ever since. Whenever I try to speak to my wife, she just makes snarky comment towards me and just storms off. I just cry myself to sleep most nights and just wish I never fucking watched that show. None of this shit would have happened. I currently don't have the money for therapy and just feel lost. I don't want a divorce. I want to try and make this work, but this whole mess is just so draining. I'm not in contact with my family, so I don't have anyone I can turn to with this. How would you guys move forward in this situation? Update 2. Again, I just want to thank everyone for the amazing love and support you guys have shown me on my last 2 posts. Even though the response on my last post wasn't what I expected, it was a reality check for me. I'm beyond grateful for all the DMs and I promise I'll get to responding to all of them someday, but I'm going through a lot at the moment, so please bear with me. I have over 200 unread DMs. After I posted my update, I realized that I was definitely in an abusive relationship, and even though I wanted to make the marriage work, she has shown zero willingness to change her attitude towards what I went through. 2 days after posting my update, I contacted a lawyer and filed for divorce. I gave her plenty of chances and she has time and time shown me that she won't even acknowledge my trauma, let alone show me any form of support. I initially kept everything a secret and slowly started preparing my assets, savings, joint bank accounts, etc. I did finally tell her about me filing for divorce and she didn't take it well. She tried fighting it and claimed I will never find anyone else that's willing to put up with a giant pussy who can't even admit he wanted whatever happened to him. According to her, no woman is willing to put up with an attention-seeking crybaby like myself. I'm not going to lie. What she said got me an F. For a brief moment I considered halting the divorce, but after she came home drunk one night and berated me for an hour straight, she snapped me back into reality. I don't know where the woman I fell in love with went, but that wasn't her. Looking back now, she'd given me plants of red flags, but I just ignored them for the sake of being loved for once in my life. For once I wasn't called gay for not being able to have sex when immediately getting into a relationship, wasn't laughed at for having random seizures, etc. I moved out of our apartment after her rant and have been staying at my friend's ever since. After she realized I wasn't coming back anytime soon, she DM'd all my friends claiming that I was an attention whore and was making up some sob story about being raped and that she was the one actually filing for divorce. Not only that, but she also told them that I was physically abusive and according to her they shouldn't hang around a guy that hits women. Most of my friends just immediately called me names, told I failed as a man and blocked me. The friend I'm currently staying with seems to be the only person on my side. I was doing an apprenticeship at a bank and she even started sending them evidence of me abusing her. I have no clue what she wrote to them. I had a meeting with HR on the 20th and they've decided to fire me. I tried fighting it, but they just said that I wasn't worth the hassle. I'm now back doing construction, don't have a proper education and have lost almost all of the people I'm close with. I'm just beyond tired at this point. Not angry, not sad, just numb. I feel like whenever I try and take a step forward, I take 3 steps backwards. Maybe I am just this unlovable and pathetic. Maybe I deserve all that's coming to me. I just don't know anymore. As stated by the title, this will be my last post. Reddit has given me so much great advice and made me realize so many things, and I'm beyond grateful for every single one of you who helped me be, but it's also destroyed my mental health. For every 50 positive and supportive comments and DMs I've received, I've had one person say the same things I've heard all my life, and I've let those people get to me. A lot of people ask me why the hell I have such strong feelings towards my babysitter giving me blowjobs. First of all, I was 9 and she on multiple occasions threatened to take my life. Second of all, I left a lot of the other details out of my post because those memories are just too painful and I didn't think it was relevant for the purpose of my original post. I'm going to mention them here since I've nothing left to lose at this point. She would shove things up my ass like cucumbers, pens, etc. She would regularly hit me in the balls to punish me for disobeying her. She would dress me up as a girl and would force me to dance for her and pose in suggestive positions. There were times where I couldn't walk properly because of the things she did to me, and I got ruthlessly bullied in school as a result. How would you guys navigate my situation? Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you so much for reading this far into my post and supporting me over these past few weeks. Just a big thank you to you/writing_romance and you/that page for checking up on me and genuinely being amazing human beings. They helped me through some seriously dark times. Oop, I hope so too. But my hope is running out sadly.